Is Shibata in AEW?
Exactly.
I don't
No,
know.
I don't know because every time you've seen him, he's like he just kind of has like a match once every 2 months
If
and
you're not in
loses.
AEW, if you're not in AEW, I don't care to see you on AEW television.
Here comes trouble!
It's me. It's me. It's that entity TTG rolling once again with that BTW Big Trouble. Taking up the whole screen. You got myself, Nikki the Good, and we have the Meat Pop Express. And boys, we have the jam-packed episode for you today. And listen, Ben, last week we alluded to someone that we really like, and we didn't get a lot into him. We didn't talk a lot about him, but I want to go into Will Ospreay to open up the show real quick. Just get right to it. Usually I hit you with a big diatribe. I talk for hours, and then we finally get into the meat and potatoes. I want to go right to it. I want to talk about Will Ospreay and how freaking awesome this dude is right now. And then I want to talk about what we were a little bit disappointed about on Dynamite from last night. So you go, tell me, why is Will Ospreay fucking awesome?
Well, I mean, this guy, he is the new Wednesday Night Delight, bro. I mean, this guy comes out, the music hits, the place explodes. So where were they last night? Quebec, Montreal, Quebec City, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Somewhere up there in French Canada, wherever. So Will Ospreay comes out, big eruption from the crowd. He's over his shit already. He's been on the show for what, 3, 4 weeks, and everybody already loves this guy. And he's only had a few matches on TV, and he's cutting these unbelievable promos because at the end of the day, and we'll get into this throughout this whole episode, what gets over is characters. So Will Ospreay comes out. He's got the jacket. He's got the pants that match the jacket. He's got all this just unspoken charisma. He has the. I love this that he controls the fans. Like, you know how like Finn Balor used to do
Yeah.
the thing with the how his
Yeah.
entrance. Yeah. When it would hit and certainly so, and he has it timed up perfectly. Like Cena had it timed up perfectly with his entrance. All his little mannerisms, getting the crowd to chant Ospreay, going to the different sides of each of the arena. Already, first 2, 3 minutes of the show is already hot as hell,
Yes, the crowd was up big time.
and then the rest of the show happened.
Yep, pretty much.
And then
Too
the
much.
rest. And here's the we've said this countless times, Nick. We don't watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. And
Nope.
but again, there's nothing wrong with New Japan Pro
Nope.
Wrestling.
If you like,
Nothing wrong.
doing that, that's fine.
If you like it, that's great. Exactly. If you like these guys, that's perfect. I know that Kitsuyori Shibata, pronounced the name wrong, I'm sorry, I don't watch it. Shibata is a bigger name. He's trained a lot of guys at the New Japan dojo. He's a legend in that sense, in that arena, in that
That realm,
ecosystem,
that realm, that
that
ecosystem.
realm.
Pretty
So
much, yeah.
whatever. So that's great and all, right? But at the end of the day, he's not nobody. You got this guy that comes out like Will Ospreay. All the bells and whistles. Looks great. The presentation's incredible. He's got all this charisma. And then a guy just comes out in black trunks and wrestles him.
Is Shibata in AEW?
Exactly.
I don't
No,
know.
I don't know because every time you've seen him, he's like he just kind of has like a match once every 2 months
If
and
you're not in
loses.
AEW, I don't care to see you on AEW television. It's that simple.
It's
And
too much.
like it's just listen, and I'll say I love Will Ospreay, dude. That theme song is so fire,
Mm-hmm.
and the presentation they got going on with him is awesome. The way they're positioning him as like this like baby face, like he's here. Like we got like Tony really did sign one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling, right? Like and he's
Mm-hmm.
got him in house, and like I can't get invested into this. I don't even think it's a storyline. It's like a one-off match, and they're
They had a
showing
match
clips.
7 years
They're
ago.
showing
Like
clips from 7 years ago. Like, why are we not getting Osprey hot to potentially challenge for a title? Like, I want to see Will Osprey challenge for AEW Gold. I want him in a top program. I don't know about Shibata. I don't care about seeing the good match. I still want to watch a television show. And then they followed it up with the Young Bucks coming out in a gimmick,
But
which
let's
is
let's talk
fine.
about the match real quick
Okay,
before we get on
go.
to the rest. So
Yeah.
like it's hot, right? And this crowd is already really hot behind Osprey. So that what that tells you is that you don't gonna make this too complicated. They want to love this guy. And that type of crowd, probably a lot of them know who Shibata is. So, but you start the match off with the most boring chain wrestling, and the crowd sits on their hands.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of that stuff, that's perfectly fine. And I'm not hating on it. They're both incredible at it. And it's something I can't do and I'll never be able to do. They're very good at this. But it's not what people in an arena that size and people on American television want to see. It's not being xenophobic. It's not being racist. It's just saying that type of wrestling is not for American television.
The public opinion is actually not the truth. Like, these people are sitting on their hands because they're not enjoying it. They like to say they enjoy it. That's the problem with wrestling fans. They like to actually just say they like chain wrestling. When you see chain wrestling on TV, they're sitting on their hands, not responding. You know when they responded? When they made their fucking entrance. When Ospreay made the entrance, they were super duper hot. So Ospreay has the match, right, against a guy he shouldn't be feuding with. He should be feuding against someone in AEW.
You know what I would like to see? He's wrestling Danielson. Like why? Maybe Claudio. Why don't you have a match?
Someone with the connection. Someone with the connection to Daniel Bryan.
Connection, and he's in AEW, and he has a name. And people are like, holy shit, we've never seen Ospreay and Claudio Castagnoli wrestle before. This is going to be awesome. Now people are up for it, right? It's like, why not that? Well, why not have the...
And I want to say, like, listen, Tony brought the dude here. Like, this isn't like an anti-Tony thing, but I also would just like Tony to just give me a little bit more of like the entertainment factor of the people that are in the company. That's all I'm asking. And also, like, then the next match was the EVPs versus Private Party. Fine, but where is the character stuff? Where's the behind the scenes stuff? Where's the promos in the back? Like, give me something else than two matches back to back to start off a 2-hour show. I don't want to see that. I'm gone. I'm not waiting around for Mercedes Moné. I'm not waiting around. Why wasn't she weaved into the beginning of why wasn't she in the beginning of the show? Give me Mercedes Moné in a backstage segment to start off the show and then go right into Ospreay. That's it.
Or I would say have a kick-ass Ospreay match, but you got to start when you're starting off a show like that. You got to go in guns blazing, and it needs to be hot. Like, have a 8-minute match and just let Ospreay show everybody what he can do. Just get it. Like, that's what WCW used to do. You start with the cruiserweights, and you know what? People might not really know many of them yet, but it's like, oh my God, look at these guys. Like Juventud Guerrero and young Rey Mysterio before Psychosis, La Parca, all these guys. You just have them go out and have a kick, Ultimo Dragon. You have them go out and have this absolute kick-ass match. And now the people in the arena are like, oh my God, now you're ready. Then you send out, the NWO. Then but you just get it. Like, the people are hot. They're on TV. It's a TV show. They're hot. They're hot. They're ready to go. They've been sitting there for an hour or so, ready for the TV show to start. They're going to be part of it. They're hot. Don't come out and just give them a chain wrestling match.
And everything I'm saying is not from like hey, Tony doesn't know what he's doing. This is just my fan perspective. Like, I am this type of fan. So when I'm saying it, I'm not trying to bash AEW. I'm just saying this is like, if you're of the same ilk as me and what you like to watch on television, this is why I like to say it, because this is just my opinion. And one more thing, Ben, real quick. Every single Wednesday night, I do get excited for 8 o'clock. I'm like, yo, AEW's on tonight. Cool. I got some wrestling to watch. And then I get a 35-minute match, and I'm like, no, I can't sit here for 35 minutes. Yeah, how about Ospreay just wipes the floor with this dude, because who cares about him? He's not in AEW. You make Ospreay the dude and move the fuck on.
That's the thing. Like, the Twitter audience is definitely the vocal minority. They're the vocal minority. They're not actually like the fans, like, and I'll say, like, we're not putting ourselves over here, but the fans like us, the majority of fans are like us.
Yes,
they are
100%. There's not even
the majority of wrestling fans are like us. I always say, when it comes to Twitter, and if people think that you're over because you're over on, when it comes to wrestling and you're over on Twitter, I'm in group chats with a bunch of, like, 10 of my friends. I'm the only one that's active on Twitter. So you got to think about that. Like, Twitter makes up maybe 7%, I think.
None of my friends are active on Twitter. They think I'm a weirdo because I spend so much time on the app.
Maybe 6-7% of people might even be on Twitter, and I think even less than that are active on Twitter. So if you think because a spot in a match in some New Japan match got 100,000 views because 100 people retweeted it, don't think that that's because it's over. Don't think it's most people are watching. It's just
No,
because
like
it's
I
both,
mean,
like,
I'll see Tony tweet something, and he's the promoter of the show, so I have nothing against him tweeting to promo his show. But you look in the comments, and like you're like, wow, everyone loves it. No, there's 9 comments, not like
exactly.
2,000. There's
Yeah.
9 comments. That's
And he's gonna
not
get
a
likes
lot.
because what does he have? 405, like almost a million. How many? I don't even know how many followers he has. At least 400,000,
I
500,000.
get that. I had a tweet
Yeah.
about a woman's boobs at a basketball game. I had 6.1 million views. And
Yeah. See?
I only have 13,000 followers, right?
So
For
like if
now.
he's gonna get, you're gonna see it and be like, oh, it must be a big deal. And the thing, I saw a lot of the comments when they were talking about, and people were like, I can't believe this crowd's not hot for Shibata. You can't believe that? Like, what do you mean you can't believe that? And
They're
there's
not
nothing
hot.
against Shibata. They don't know who he is. And
He's not an American. It's not an American style of wrestling. American wrestling in the United States of America is about promos, character, investment into the storylines, and getting emotion. It's about moments. It's not about wrestling. The reason why Ben and I really like Ospreay is because we feel he's doing everything we like, and he's a motherfucking dude in the ring. And he is one of the high flyers. He makes everything look very legit. It's like watching. He's legitimately like, even like when he does like a springboard, like the way he moves his body and controls it, it looks like a fucking video game. That's why I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
This dude's got. This dude's
It's like
got.
He's like
another
Ricochet.
level. He's Ricochet, but he's bigger.
He's bigger. He's more built. Yeah, he's built.
More
Yeah.
built, but like, dude, Ricochet had me like go to Ricochet. Ricochet got me invested. They're starting to do shit with his character. Finally, they're making him into something like more like a, finally the guy's getting his roses. They're positioning him correctly. They're getting a little bit of storyline, right? Like where he's overcoming the odds, giving him some motherfucking wins,
Yeah.
Like letting him to everyone's like, oh, this guy's got to talk more. No, you fucking idiot. He can't talk. He's not a great talker. Let him do the talking in the ring and tell the stories in there. He doesn't need to say a lot.
Just play to his strengths. And that's what they like.
Christ.
Paul Heyman did the best at, especially in ECW. He had a bunch of guys, you can call them misfits, but he played to every guy's strength, every guy and girl's strength. He didn't expose them for what they couldn't do. Right? Sandman, not a good wrestler.
Terrible. Probably a liability in the ring.
Probably one of the worst professional wrestlers that ever been signed before. And he'll probably tell you that.
Over.
But God, was he over? Because, Heyman's like, you know what? You're like the everyman. You're just going to come out with a beer. You're going to be drinking. You're going to come out through the crowd. They're all going to love you. Just have the cane. That's your gimmick.
You don't care what happens in the match.
No.
You just want to watch the entrance. I look at Cardona, right? And Cardona, like, I always talk about Matt, big time because I'm a huge fan of him. But like, if you look at his presentation, he's got the entrance where he's interacting with the crowd the entire time. His merch and his gear is always top of the line. And then he gets in the ring. Yeah, he'll joke about it. It's the same match every time, but like the audience is conditioned to, oh, here comes the pre-workout spot. Like you are conditioned to be like, I'm going to be entertained because I know what, like this is an actual show I'm watching. The match is telling me an entire story built into their characters. And then I'm just watching Shibata versus Ospreay, and I'm like, so I'm just here to just watch good wrestling.
If Cena was over for all the years, and people gave him shit the 5 moves of doom, but you knew what was coming, and the fans were preconditioned to know what was going to happen next. Now you might not know the result, but in the match when something's going to happen, and you get up for it. It's like, oh, and now I paid my money to see this in person.
The Rock has the dumbest move in the history of pro wrestling. The People's Elbow is the dumbest move in the history of pro wrestling.
And the most over move.
Logically is the dumbest move in the history of pro wrestling, but it's like the most over move ever. Like in terms of like,
knows,
because it's
anybody People's Elbow, they'll tell you they know what the People's Elbow is.
Because it's not just the fact that like, it's not like the stunner that happens like that. The People's Elbow is literally an entire segment in itself. Like the entire thing is a dance. And then he hits it and you're like, he just dropped an elbow. But he conditioned the audience to feel a certain way when he does it. And then AEW is like, I have no steam for Mercedes Moné. Like, I just don't. Like, there's just, you killed it. Like, Weaver through the show, man. She should be 1A. 1A.
Does she seem out of place?
Yes.
I'm getting that feeling that she, like, cause obviously her gear is the best, I think, on the show.
Everything's
every time. Her everything about her. it seems out of place. It almost seems like she's lost.
The
Like,
presentation around her is not as big as she is. To me, that's the
Exactly.
problem. Like, if you gave her, and I hate saying this, but because they have a 30-year head start, but if WWE's production, if she comes out to WWE's production, it's a different ballgame. Like, she just looks like a completely different person, right?
Exactly.
Like, dude, I mean, and then we could talk about like The Rock. Like, you want to go
Oh,
juxtaposition here, and then we actually have to get into some tweets too because we went long a little bit with that opening. But like, you talked about The Rock, right? And just the final boss presentation is maybe the greatest presentation I've ever seen in my life.
oh yeah. I mean, they're hitting it out of the park with this presentation. And let's get into Raw. Let's get into like what
Sure.
people are saying is the best was the one of the best Raws in the last 25 years. And it's hard to argue that. It was absolutely incredible. And let's give reasons for this. Starts the show. Who comes out? Cody. Show starts immediately. Biggest baby face on the show. Here he comes. Music and everything. Crowd's hot. Okay, great. Cody cuts his promo. This, that, and the other. All of a sudden, surprise, boom, here comes The Rock. No one knew he was going to be there. The music hits, place absolutely explode. Doesn't matter, he's a heel. As soon as you hear the beginning of that, if you, The Rock's coming out, the place is going to explode. And then throughout the show, The Rock, the best thing, less is more. Rock doesn't say a word, gets booed. Rock just whispers in Cody's ear, and Cody sells it incredibly. Looks, we don't know what he said, but sold it and just walks out of the ring, place boos him. That could not have been better. Better than The Rock coming out saying Cody crybabies, laughing, this, that, and the other. Now we got a sadistic, pissed off Rock. We don't
The
have
Rock has become
I'm trying to be the cool guy, Rock,
It all started with The Rock being playful on McAfee's show, talking about the Cody crybabies, and he has morphed into the final boss. Like and it's only taken like what 5 weeks to do it.
He's a legit villain. And this is the best part they did in it. Throughout the show, they just continually kept you hanging and they kept bringing up what the hell did The Rock say to Cody? They had The Rock backstage with the backstage interviewer. Go ask Cody. And they asked Cody, you didn't get anything out of that. So they're conditioning you now. Like it's like a movie.
You have to hang on.
Something is going to happen by the end of this show. They're not going to the people in W, they're too smart. They're not going to show you The Rock, show you Cody, and just nothing happen.
You're gonna get a payoff.
You're gonna get a payoff, and you got the payoff at the end of the show. That is absolutely masterful. That's how you write a TV show, right there. That could not have been more perfect. I think that was the reason that people thought that was the big reason, not the only reason, but the big reason people said, well, that was the best Raw in 25 years. Now, Nick, if you want to go into your favorite segment of the show, they also had one of the best promo segments I think I've ever seen on Raw.
With Punk, McIntyre,
Rollins.
Like that's what happens when pro wrestling is great. First of all, they really just need to not be PG because the kids will survive. They will be okay. Right?
They hear worse stuff on TikTok and Instagram anyway.
Nothing crazy was said. And you know it's a show. So it's like it's almost better than having real people on TikTok say crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre is so good. CM Punk is so good. And they elevated Rollins.
Yes, they did.
And I don't care. I mean, listen, there's a version of Rollins that I love, and he's not currently that yet. But when he's around those two, they just make him better. They just make, I mean, that is, I mean, I can't say enough about how you have The Rock and this bloodline Cody thing going on. And then the other main event, the World Heavyweight Championship, which I typically could give two shits about. I'm fucking invested in that title right now.
Oh, it's incredible. And they came out, and the best
Punk
thing
is
about
hurt.
it,
Punk is hurt.
Yeah.
He's hurt, and they're utilizing him the best way they can.
Well, I think it's
he's not on the motherfucker. Go ahead.
It's the best way you can use Punk. Anyway, even if he wasn't hurt, this is the best way you can. This is the best way you can use him. His mouth's the best, and we know what
you're watching on YouTube.
Because
he's fucking gonna talk.
Because he's what? And did you see his segment? It went up 500,000 people from the segment before. 500,000 people. 500,000 people tuned in.
And the best
just
part,
because
man,
Punk came out.
the best part's got to be the fact that, listen, like, they get to the backstage. They may hate each other in real life. I don't know. They're probably like good business,
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah. They
great
know they're all
business boys.
professionals. They
That
know
was
that's like,
it.
hey,
They're all grown ass
we're not
fucking men.
friends. We
They're
don't have to be
grown
friends.
ass men.
Yeah, and you know what I really loved about the promo, like it just didn't seem scripted.
There's no chance that was written. There's just no chance.
It wasn't every word was perfect. They were talking like men to each other. They weren't
Referring to Vince,
saying like sucker and succotash or anything stupid like that. They were just talking like men would talk to each other.
right? If you had an issue with somebody and like that's how you would talk.
And like interrupting each other, not just waiting for you to talk, putting your mic down, next guy talks. Oh, now it's my turn. Not waiting for cues. And Punk's always been good at that.
I really hope that Punk can stay healthy, man, because he's really good on the mic, man. I mean,
but
he's Drew's right up there, and then Rollins is getting better. He's still he's still cheesy, but once he's got to get rid of that fucking gimmick, man. Like you're wearing that dumbass shit. Like,
yeah, you gotta be a little bit more serious. Yeah, I
not
agree.
even just serious, just like that's so over the top. Like look. I mean, that's not you.
Cheesy.
Like you're playing a character that's not an extension of yourself.
Yeah, it
like
seems forced.
You just found what worked and got the audience, and then you leaned into it. Versus like Drew McIntyre is Scottish. He wears a skirt. CM Punk is straight edge and he's not corporate. He wears a hoodie. Makes sense. The Rock is The Rock. He wears that. Cody
looks
is
like
Cody.
Hollywood.
He wears a fucking suit everywhere he goes. I don't think Seth Rollins wears CrossFit gear when he's not at WWE. Yeah. He's not dressed like that. That's not an extension of you. It's a low-hanging fruit that the audience grabbed on and you've run with it. You're not the Joker. That's not how you are in real life.
No.
I think there's no evidence of it.
I think people can see through it too. It's like you're kind of forcing this a bit. But I mean, you know what though? Like you said, he's elevated right now because Punk, say what you want about him, he elevates everybody around him.
And he does it well, man. He does business. Punk does business. I don't care what anyone says. He does business.
And now let's talk about some of the matches, Nick. Let's get to these tweets here.
Yes, get to the tweets.
First of all,
let me preface. This is about Dave Meltzer, okay? Because old BT Double B quote tweeted his candy ass right before. What do you got for me, Big Trouble?
So somebody said to him, name four. What does it say here? So this was all somebody going after him about the storylines in AEW. Someone says, name 4 stories that's happening in AEW right now. So Dave Meltzer says, Danielson and Ospreay, Shibata and Ospreay. That's first of all. Let's preface what a story is. These are angles, not stories. These are matches. Correct. These are angles that lead to matches, not stories.
These are not television stories.
They're not television
this
stories.
This is history. It's history.
Again, nothing against Shibata. No one knows who Shibata is. It's not a story. Okay, Danielson, Ospreay. Okay, what's the story? Who's the best wrestler? Fine, I'll take it. I don't care. But they're 2 well-known guys. Swerve and Takeshita leading to Swerve versus Joe has been built for months. Okay, I'll give that one. I'll say that's one. Mercedes versus Willow from the foot injury last year. We talked about this. Foot injury didn't happen in AEW. All right.
No.
We haven't gone into it enough. There hasn't been footage of it. It hasn't been stretched so we can understand what's going on.
If you wanted it to matter, you should have had Willow talking shit about Mercedes before she ever got there, saying like, I'm the one who broke Mercedes Moné's leg.
Thank you.
That's what you should have done. Not just have her show up and have Willow smiling.
Yeah, like, I wish I took you out forever.
I broke your leg. Yeah.
Now you think you should come here and you think you're going to run shit. Now I'll break your other leg. Something like that. Now it's a story, but not yet. Kyle not joining the Undisputed Kingdom. Is anybody?
He's got to get some sleep.
I don't even.
He's just got to get some sleep.
We're talking about presentation here. He's backstage, T-shirt and a backwards hat.
He's got to get some sleep. His bag's underneath his eyes, man.
Fucking unbelievable. Jericho and Hook will get along. Jericho just midlife crisis. Tag team tournament. Sure. Actually, shout out to the infantry. 2 good buddies of mine, Sean Dean, Carly Bravo.
I don't want any more tournaments. I don't want any more tournaments.
More and more tournaments. I'm kind of over the tournament. Ruby and Parker romance. Parker and Zach Knight. Nick, do you know any of these? Are these stories? Or are these just like shit that happened backstage one time? Mark Briscoe in the House of Black? When did this happen?
It didn't.
Omega and Okada? Omega's not even there. Every single one built longer than the build for every match on Raw this week. Okay. So now he's just taking a shot at Raw and saying, Raw, we just went through, there was probably one actual story, and it's Swerve and Joe. And I'll take that. I'll take Swerve and Joe. I'll give, if I'm being nice, I'll say Ospreay and Danielson, sure. You know, just because of their name value. That can be a built-up story as well. So really two there. The rest are just kind of like 1-2 week off angles or stuff that happened months ago in another promotion that no one knows about, or a guy that's not even there right now. We're saying that's an ongoing story. What's wrong? Nick, give me your opinion. Like, what do you think? Like, what is that? What is this?
They're not. They're not. Just because something's happening on TV doesn't mean it's an actual story. Like, just because two people in a ring talking is not a story week after week. Like, a story is a fleshed out thing that is designed to get the audience invested. None of these are designed to get the audience invested on a weekly basis. Show me where they're being talked about online. Show me where they're being debated online. They're not, because they're not actual stories. It's just like, oh, someone needs a program. Here's the program. This is your turn.
The program. Yeah, it's a program.
That's all it is. It's not a story. Like a story, you need emotion and investment. There's no emotion and investment. It's like circumstance.
Exactly.
Like that's all that is.
So let's go into this now, Nick, really quick. We'll run through it. He said no stories on Raw. All those had more stories than anything on Raw. So let's talk about Sammy versus Bronson Reed, and then also adding in Gable and Gunther. This started last year with Gunther and Gable on WWE TV. So everybody knows the history of Gable and Gunther. And this is a Rocky IV story. It's easy. It's easy to follow. People get it. The baby face is doubting himself. Everyone's telling him he can't win. He just lost to Bronson Reed. Now he's like, I'm not going to win. All of a sudden, the guy who came the closest to beating Gunther says, I can get you past this. I can be the one to help you here. Now, I don't know where it's going, but I'm intrigued by it. I wasn't intrigued by Sammy being in this match a couple weeks ago, but now I am. Sammy's involved, but this was an ongoing story with Gable and Gunther, which I think they're going to follow that more after WrestleMania. So Sammy's just involved, but he's a good person to have involved in it. That's a year-long story right there. So already, that's a better story than anything that I've seen on AEW. Ricochet, JD, ongoing storylines within the Judgment Day, slowly crumbling in the resurgence of Ricochet. There you go. Storylines continued right there. Candice Ivy, small story, but Candice is trying to turn into a heel, trying to be a little bit more realistic, calling out Maxine Dupree. Not a big story, but you know what? It's a higher program, I'll call it. And the DIY New Day. DIY's never been to WrestleMania. That's the story right there. 10 years in WWE, never been to WrestleMania. They're the underdogs facing off against New Day, and you're just adding actual storylines into a ladder match. It's going to be a clusterfuck to begin with, but now you have actually people to care about because you got Awesome Truth, you got Judgment Day, you got DIY, you got New Day, you got a ton of different intertwined stories and angles right there. So that's just four, and I rattled it off on the top of my head after seeing that. After somebody, I don't watch Raw all 3 hours every single week, but the Raw that I caught this past week, I picked up on it like that. It was very simple.
I mean, and Raw also has 3 hours in it, so like it's even Raw and like it's a lot of television, and for some reason WWE just has they're just painting a better picture when it comes to these stories. Like it just doesn't feel like these are put together by circumstance, and it's like, oh, here you go, this is what you got today. I don't know,
it's
man.
Simple. All the stories are
so simple.
You can follow it. You can follow them. It doesn't have to be intricate. Is the bloodline a little bit more? Okay, yes, but that's been going on, and it's the top program. And excuse me, there's been a lot of twists and turns in it, a ton of twists and turns. But you know what? It's the top program. Everything else at the bottom, more mid card. It's a simple program, simple to follow. Characters you want to get invested in, faces you want to root for, heels you want to boo. Very, very simple formula.
And I'll finish up by just calling out that there was another tweet on the old Twitter. Just briefly talk about this because we got to head out here. But Eric Bischoff and Tony Khan going at it. Tony Khan basically being like, sunsetting this fraud of a business podcast before the next AEW media deal is a wise choice. And then he was quote tweeted by Eric Bischoff saying, a money mark with no talent other than spending daddy's money, going all the way to Canada to draw the less than 4K in the hottest pro wrestling markets in North America, talking about wise choices. Strap in. It's going to be a fun day. And then that was quote tweeted by Conrad being like, 83 weeks with Eric Bischoff is not sunsetting. So that's the
No.
world of professional wrestling. You have Eric Bischoff, who ran WCW back in the day, feuding with Tony Khan on Twitter about how packed AEW shows are, and then Conrad, the new modern day godfather of professional wrestling, I guess fandom, podcasting, is basically like, no, none of that is true. And he goes, after waking up to Twitter this morning, I wonder, as a friend of mine might say, what do you guys want to talk about? So pro wrestling, thank you so much for giving us all the material we need for this show.
Really, really quick on this. And I know people like, I know Bischoff's a controversial topic, but at the end of the day, Bischoff's the only one that ever competed with WWE.
Only one.
Cut and dry. Cut and dry. He did it. 83 weeks. He did it. He beat him for 83 weeks, and he continued to compete with them for about 4 or 5 years. Okay. There's got something to be said. Did he make mistakes? Yes, but he owns up to his mistakes, and he says it. He says it. If you listen to his podcast, he says, yes, that was wrong. I was wrong. This wasn't a good play. And he has tried to give. I'm an avid listener of 83 weeks. I'm an avid listener of Cornette as well, but I don't take everything they say as gospel. I don't take everything they say I don't believe in. But Bischoff, throughout the last few years, has said, like, hey, I have seen what is happening in AEW, and I saw that firsthand in WCW, and that's when I saw WCW start crumbling. So he has tried to say in public, hey, here's the critiques. I've seen it. I know how this goes. I've seen the ship sink. I was right there on the front lines. But you know what? He takes it to heart. And it's his money. It's TK's money. He can do what he wants with it. Bischoff was spending somebody's money. It wasn't his dad, but he was spending Turner's money. So
yes, he was.
That's certainly a moot point.
And speaking of money, what else we could say, Ben?
No, I was just going to say it's tough to. I just think it's unfair to come at Bischoff and people that ran on Bischoff.
Like Bischoff's already done it. He's just commenting.
He's done it.
I've done it. Like there's nothing. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? I don't run a wrestling promotion right now. You do. Like
exactly.
If you wanted to critique me back in the late 90s, knock yourself out. But that's all we got for this week, folks. Twitter. Follow it if you want to follow everything that we just talked about. What do you guys think books a good professional wrestling show? I kind of think that's kind of the theme of what this show was. Let us know in the comments. And Ben, do you have anything else to say to these marks?
Nothing really this weekend, though. I will be in Indianapolis, folks, on Saturday at the Squared Circle Expo. A ton of people are going to be there. A good friend of the program, Cardona, a good friend of mine, Matt Riddle, headlining the show on Saturday night. The Expo, come meet all your favorite wrestlers. I'll be walking around. Getting there in the morning, leaving and not even getting a hotel and just leaving at 5 a.m. Nick, that's the life of a professional wrestler. Just going to sleep at the airport.
Yep. And I will not be sleeping in an airport. I'll be sleeping in my house because I'm not a professional wrestler. But this was the Meat Pop Express. Please follow us everywhere. Please follow Ben.
Buy some merch. Still got merch.
Buy some merch. We still got it. Feed my children and Ben's dogs. And with that said, Ben, hit us with that catchphrase.
Keep it positive, keep it trucking, keep the shades on because the sun never sets on a cool guy.
Later, Marks.